Auburn. Look, Texas. The quarterback thing is really scaring me. The greatest thing. And I know that everybody thinks Arch Manning is the greatest quarterback to walk on the face of this earth. Welcome back to another episode of the Ian Fritts Show. It is me, Ian Fritts. As you can see behind me, we have a lot of helmets. We are talking 2025 SEC schedule, win-loss for every single team in the SEC. And to be honest, I think this is the most wide open the SEC has ever been. You could convince me 5-6 teams win this conference this year. That's how deep it is this year. I am excited to do this video. Some of these are already filled out, as you can see behind me, because this is the last conference I've done. If you don't want a lot of spoilers, too bad. You've already seen them. But you can go over and watch the Big 12, Big 10, and the ACC schedule, win-loss on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe down below and comment where I went wrong or where I go right. We're going to jump right in. We have Alabama up first, folks. The Crimson Tide, year 2 for Kalen DeBoer. Everybody seems to think that Ty Simpson will be the quarterback. Will he be the quarterback? We do not know, but that's what everybody seems to think. Doesn't matter. They have a lot of talent. I like what Alabama's got going on. They'll beat Florida State in week 1. I don't really have any doubts about that. Florida State, not a good football team. They'll beat UL Monroe. No doubt in my mind about that. They'll beat Wisconsin. They'll get an off week September 20th, and then they will head to Georgia. This is where I think they dropped their first game. Look, Georgia's last loss at home was, I believe, in 2021, maybe 30 games ago, something like that. Just an absurd statistic. I think Alabama will drop that one on the road. They will bounce back with a win against Vanderbilt. At Missouri, they'll win there. They will win at home against Tennessee. They will drop the game at South Carolina. That wouldn't surprise me if that's a night game there, folks. Would not surprise me if that is a night game for the South Carolina Gamecocks. And Alabama. Off week before you get LSU at home. You get LSU at home. That is huge, 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 huge for Alabama. They'll knock this into a win for themselves. They get Oklahoma at home as well. This is one where you'll see how good I think Oklahoma is towards the end of the video, and you'll see it nuggets throughout. This is going to be a loss for Alabama. And then they'll beat Eastern Illinois, and they will beat Auburn. Look, the quarterback thing is really scaring me. And I know that everywhere Kalen DeBoer goes and Ryan Grubb goes with him, the offense is off the charts. It's unbelievable. But that scares me about Alabama real quick. That scares me a little bit about Alabama. Okay? We're going to move right along to Auburn being up next. Or not Auburn, excuse me. Arkansas is up next. We'll move right along to Arkansas. Over-under for Arkansas is 5.5. That's not good. That's not good if you were to go into the books and see, how many wins do we want as a football team? You want more than 5.5, I'd let you know. That's pretty easy to discover. You don't want to only win 5.5 football games, folks. Now, they do have a great quarterback in Taylor Green. However, do they have anything else on their football team? I don't think so. I need to write 9-3 over here for Alabama, folks. 9-3. Boom. It's actually letting me draw pretty good today. Hopefully I didn't jinx it. Arkansas. This will be a win against Alabama at A&M. It'll be a win against Arkansas State. Here's the losses. The losses start happening right here, folks. I think they beat Memphis. I think Taylor Green is good enough to beat Memphis by himself, even though Memphis is a solid power group of 5 opponent. They'll lose to Notre Dame. They'll lose on the road at Tennessee. They'll lose to Texas A&M. Auburn is a team they could beat. I fear that they will lose to Auburn. Mississippi State's one that they can get. They can get Mississippi State. LSU, automatic loss. At Texas, that's a loss. And Missouri at home. Unfortunately, I do not see them winning that football game. What is that going to be? Is that going to be a 4-8 season for Arkansas? 4-8 for the Razorbacks, folks. 4-8 for the Razorbacks. Auburn up next. Here's the team. Week 1, right out the gate, 7.5 is their over-under. They have to go on the road Friday night. You got to go to Baylor. Baylor's not some slouch of a football team. I already have them losing that game. Now, that may not determine the entire season for Auburn, but at least in week 1, we know Auburn's going to be 0-1 because they're going to go on the road and lose to Baylor. Baylor's a good football team, good offense. We'll see. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. Can Jackson Arnold do anything on the road? He did nothing on the road in every single road game last year. We'll see if he can do anything at Baylor. Ball State, they'll bounce back with a win there. South Alabama, that's a win. I think they drop the one on the road at Oklahoma. I think they drop at Texas A&M. They get an off week. They drop Georgia. I think they beat Missouri. We already know they beat Arkansas. I think they beat Kentucky. They beat Vandy. They get an off week. They beat Mercer, and then they'll drop that game to Alabama. That's still going to be, I believe, an 8-4 season for Auburn. And no, it's going to be a 7-5. 7-5 season for Auburn. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7-5 for Auburn. They're over under 7.5. So we're dancing all around these over unders right now for these top 3 teams right here. 7-5 for Auburn. Hugh Freeze might be out the door if that's the case. Now, they have a lot of talent. I'm not saying they don't have a lot of talent. I just don't necessarily believe in Jackson Arnold. As an OU guy, I don't think I should believe in Jackson Arnold based on what he put on tape last year. Now, that can change. Not saying it can't change, but I don't foresee it changing, okay? Next up, Florida Gators. This is a team. Look, a lot of rumors. DJ Lagway, is he hurt? Is he healthy? What's going on with DJ Lagway? Doesn't matter. If he's half hurt, he's better than 57% of the quarterbacks in the country. If he's all the way healthy, he's better than 99.9% of the country. Now, is he ever fully healthy? No. But he's partially healthy, and he's a solid quarterback. USF, that's a win. This stretch right here, this 2-game stretch in week 3 and week 4 for Florida, you have to go on the road to Death Valley. This is one where I just don't see it happening. I love LSU. You'll see how high I am on LSU here in a little bit. You get an off week, then you get Texas at home. I think that's going to be a win for Florida. You go on the road to Texas A&M, that's a win. You get Mississippi State at home, that's a win. Off week before you play Georgia. Now you get Georgia at home. A lot of these tough opponents are in the later half of the season at home. You get Florida State at home, Tennessee at home, Georgia at home, Mississippi State at home, Texas at home, but you do have that LSU road game and Miami road game. Now, Miami, there'll probably be more Florida fans there than Miami fans. So we get Georgia off a bye. I just don't like that for Florida. I just don't love it. Now, if we get to this portion of the season, DJ Lagway is humming and he's fully healthy, easily see it. Will he be fully healthy? I just don't know if I'm convinced he can stay healthy at all. They're over under 7.5. I just see them. I see them hit the over here. I don't really have a doubt in my mind about that. They'll beat Kentucky. They'll beat Ole Miss. I think they'll beat Tennessee. Do I have Florida going 10-2? I have Florida going 10-2. I prefer a 9-3, so let's have them drop that game against Texas. Let's have them win that one. Drop the one against A&M. 9-3 for Florida. I feel like that makes a little more sense. 9-3 for the Florida Gators and DJ Lagway and company. That's a terrific season for Billy Napier and company. He gets to keep his job. Georgia Bulldogs up next. We already have some to fill out here. They beat Alabama. They beat Florida. And they beat Georgia Tech. Okay? What do we got up next for Georgia? Week 1, Marshall, win. Week 2, Austin Peay, win. On the road at Tennessee, win. Off week, you get Alabama at home, win. You get Kentucky at home, that's a win. On the road at Auburn, that's a win. Ole Miss, win. Off week, you get Florida at home. On the road at Tennessee, I think they will win that game. Shocker. And if you're Georgia, you look up in November 15th before Texas comes to town. They're going to beat Charlotte. So if you win this Texas game, you got a 12-0 season if you're the Georgia Bulldogs. Unfortunately for Georgia, that will not happen. They will lose to Texas. And is that an 11-1 season for the Georgia Bulldogs? It is. Now, their over-under is 9.5. The schedule's not as tough as people think. You got the Alabama, you got Florida, and you got Texas. Those 3 games, which if you lose all 3, you get to 9 wins. I can see how the over-under is at 9.5. The rest of those games, they're going to be favored in. So I think 11-1 for Georgia is definitely possible, and I like that a lot. I really do. I like that a lot. Now, here's why. Defense, literally going to be the exact same thing. They're unbelievable. They are unbelievable. Now, I don't think they need that good of offensive play to go 11-1. I don't think they need that, because I think that defense is going to be that good. Now, Kentucky, cover your ears, Kentucky fans. Not going to be a pretty year for you guys. Not going to be a pretty year for you guys. You'll beat Toledo. You'll lose to Ole Miss. You will beat Eastern Michigan. Off week, we are on the road at South Carolina. That's a loss. That is a loss. On the road at Georgia, that's a loss. Off week, Texas at home, that's a loss. Tennessee at home, that's a loss. On the road at Auburn, that's a loss. Florida at home, that's a loss. Tennessee Tech, hey, here you go. You're going to get a win there. You will get a win on the road at Vanderbilt, and you'll lose to Louisville at home. What is that going to be, a 4-8 season? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4-8 season for Kentucky. Over-unders 4.5. We are on the money with these record predictions. Only one that's really off by that much is Georgia. And I just trust Kirby Smart. And there's nothing wrong with trusting a guy that's got it done a bunch of times. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people will try to scare you into thinking you can't trust. You just can't do that. You just can't do it with Georgia. You just can't. Not this year. Who's their quarterback? Gunnar Stockton. Do I love him? No. Do I love Kirby Smart? Yes. That's how we get to 11-1. LSU. Here we go. And if you want to stay tuned, in a couple weeks' time, maybe a week's time, we'll have my top 25 coming out. And I know a lot of you are going to want to see that, because you will be upset with what I have going on there. You should not be. You should not be. Okay? You should not be, because it's the preseason. I will do what I want, and I will do what I think. LSU week 1 on the road at Clemson. Death Valley. They'll lose this game. They'll drop to Clemson. I am so high on Clemson this year. Go watch the ACC record predictions if you want to see how high I am on Clemson. Louisiana Tech, you'll bounce back with a win there. I think you beat Florida. You beat Southeastern Louisiana. Shouldn't even be playing them, okay? That shouldn't even be a game you guys have on your schedule. You'll beat Ole Miss. Off week, you'll get South Carolina at home. That's a win. You'll go on the road at Vandy. That's a win. You'll get Texas A&M at home. Off week before a tough stretch at Alabama. I think you lose this game at Alabama, but I think you win against Arkansas. You win against Western Kentucky, and you win at Oklahoma to finish the season. So that's going to be a 10-2, 7-1 in conference play. So you have the same conference record as Georgia right now. Same conference record as Georgia. What was Georgia's loss here? I changed one. It was Texas. I had them lose to Texas. That should be red. You have the same conference record, so you're squarely in the conversation for SEC title game right now at 10-2. I love that for the LSU Tigers. Ole Miss up next. I sense some regression from the Ole Miss Tigers this year. Lost there. Who else have they played? I think they lose to Florida. Okay, those are all the games that we've gone over already. They'll beat Arkansas. That's a win. They'll beat Kentucky. That's a win. They'll beat Georgia State. In this Tulane game, you get it at home, so I think there's a win there. So you're 4-1 halfway through October here. At the end of October 4th, you're 4-1, and you have a Washington State, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina up next. Okay, those are your next 4 after you're 4-1. If you're Ole Miss and Austin Simmons and Lane Kiffin, look, their over/under is 8.5. I expect some regression. I think Austin Simmons is going to be a really, really good quarterback, but everywhere else, they lost some really good talent defensively, offensively. I think they'll beat Washington State. They'll lose to Georgia. I think they lose to this Oklahoma game. I think they beat South Carolina. They beat South Carolina. They obviously beat the Citadel. They beat Florida. They lose to Florida, but then they'll beat Mississippi State. So we're at 8-4 for Ole Miss this year. The over/under is 8.5. We're right on it. We are right on it. 8-4 for the Ole Miss Rebels. And you know what? That's not a horribly disappointing year if you're Lane Kiffin. Look, you lose to LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Florida. I don't think you can be complaining too much if you're an Ole Miss Rebel fan. Gonna take a sip here. That's good water right there. Let me know if you want one of these mugs. We'll get it to you. When I was filling it up, I spilled just everywhere, all over my desk. Filled, there's water everywhere. But we are powering through for you guys. Mississippi State up next. Bloodbath. Cover your ears if you're a Mississippi State fan. I don't think this should be good at all. Now, quarterback-wise, Blake Shapin's a good quarterback. Just the rest of your roster is no good. It is no good. So you'll beat Southern Miss. You'll lose to Arizona State. You'll beat Alcorn State. You'll beat Northern Illinois, Notre Dame Slayer. You'll lose to Tennessee. You'll lose on the road at Texas A&M. You'll lose to Florida. You'll lose to Texas. Do we have you beating Arkansas? We do not. You'll lose to Georgia. You'll lose at Missouri. And you will lose to Ole Miss. So really, it's what? You'll get to that 3-9. So the over-under is 3.5. They're expecting Ole Miss to not win an SEC game. That's why it's at 3.5. If they expected them to win one game, and this is honestly a gauntlet of a schedule. They're playing literally the top half teams in the SEC other than Arkansas. That's not good if you're a Mississippi State fan. Schedule not kind to you. 3-9 for Mississippi State. Missouri up next. Over-under for Bo Prabula in Missouri is 7.5. What will they do? They beat UCA. Nobody knows who they are. They beat Kansas. They beat Louisiana. They lose to South Carolina at home. They'll beat UMass on the road. They get an off week. They get Alabama at home. I still like Alabama in that game. They go to Auburn. What did I have Auburn doing? Beating Missouri. So they'll lose that game. They'll beat Vandy. Off week, you get Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Arkansas to close out the year in those final 4 games. I just don't see it happening against Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M this year, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do. They returned a lot. You'll beat Mississippi State, no problem. You'll lose this one at Oklahoma, and you will beat Arkansas. So I think we're going to have that 8-4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to have 7-5 for Missouri. Over under 7.5. I don't hate that at all. I do not hate that at all. You're 7-5 if you are a Missouri Tiger. 7-5. Okay, this is maybe my most anticipated part of the video. Unless you are not an OU fan. But if you are, buckle up. Here we go. Illinois State, week 1. John Mateer, Brent Venables, Jade Knott, everybody on that team. Much improved. Hypothetically. Now, does that mean on the field results are going to be there? I believe it does. I've said it since January. I believe this is a 10-2 football team with what they brought in. Let me preface this. This is if they are healthy. This cannot be if every single person on their team gets injured. And you're like, Ian, you said they would go 10-2. That doesn't count because their entire team, I wasn't counting their backups. I'm counting the guys that I think are going to be starting. That's what I'm going 10-2 with all these record predictions, okay? The starters, what do they get me? They get me a win against Illinois State. I know that. They get me a win at home against Michigan. Then you got the daunted road game at Temple. That's a win. I have you beaten Auburn. You'll get an off week. You'll play Kent State. That's a win. You're 6-0 or you're 5-0 going to the Red River Showdown. Unfortunately, this will be a loss. That will be a loss. At South Carolina, I like a win there. I like a win against Ole Miss. I like a win at Tennessee. I had them lose this Alabama game. I had them beat Alabama. They will win this Missouri game, and then they will drop the one against LSU. Now, that's going to be 6-2 in SEC play. So that's not going to be good enough to get them in the SEC championship game because LSU was 7-1 in SEC play, and Georgia was also 7-1. So right now it's still Georgia LSU in the championship game. But OU is 10-2, matching LSU. So I think that would be good enough to get them in the college football playoff, which I said they will be there from January. That is the team I believe in. I think they will get there, folks. I really, really believe it. And that's why I'm putting it out there. That's why I'm putting it out there. A lot of people wouldn't do this. They would just go with the flow. I go with what my gut says, what I believe in. I believe they'll go 10-2, no doubt in my mind. No doubt, maybe a little doubt. South Carolina up next. Virginia Tech wins. South Carolina State shouldn't even be playing them. What a joke. They'll beat Vandy on the road at Missouri. That's a win. Kentucky at home, that's a win. They'll lose on the road at LSU. I have them losing at home against Oklahoma. They'll lose to Alabama. Excuse me. They beat Alabama. On the road at Ole Miss is a loss. Then you get an off week. You get at Texas A&M. Can we finish the year out stronger for South Carolina? I think so. However, I think they drop this game. I'm high on the Texas A&M Aggies, and they will lose to They will beat Coastal Carolina. So that's going to be an 8-4 season for South Carolina Gamecocks. They're replacing a lot of stuff defensively that a lot of people aren't talking about. Yes, Lenore Sellers, unbelievable talent. Yes, Dylan Stewart, unbelievable talent. 8-4 is still a good season. Over their over-under win total of 7.5. Tennessee's a team where regression is going to hit hard. Okay, you'll beat Syracuse. You'll beat Eastern Tennessee State. It's a loss against Georgia in week 3. It's a win against UAB. It's a win at Mississippi State. It's a win against Arkansas. You'll drop this one at Alabama. You'll win against Kentucky. You'll drop this one against Oklahoma. New Mexico State, courtesy of the SEC, you're welcome. You'll win that game. You will lose on the road at Florida, but you will finish the year out strong with a win against Vandy. That's going to be an 8-4 season for the Tennessee Volunteers. Still a solid season. That's under their over-under of 8.5. I just am not there yet with the entirety of their team. They have to replace, I believe, all 5 offensive linemen. It could be 4 or 5, which is no easy task. No easy task, ladies and gentlemen. No easy task. Okay, here we go. Trying to move this. Texas, Arch Manning. Everybody's ready for them to be the greatest thing of all time. Everybody thinks Arch Manning is the greatest quarterback to walk on the face of this earth. They will go to the horseshoe and lose in week 1. After that, it is going to look pretty good if you're a Texas Longhorn fan. You'll rattle off 3 straight wins. You'll get an off week. You'll head to Florida. You'll lose that one. But then you're going to bounce back with a win against Oklahoma. You're going to go to Kentucky and win. You're going to go to Mississippi State and win. You're going to have Vanderbilt at home. You'll win that one. Then you're going to go on the road to Georgia. And you will win. You will lose that game. You will win that game. Excuse me. Arkansas at home. That's a win. To finish the year, I think you drop one against Texas A&M. But still, you're 6-2 in SEC play, 9-3 overall. A good season from Texas. Now, their over-under is 9.5. So you hit the under. I lean under with Texas. Look, Arch, he probably is really talented. It's his first year. And a lot of these teams have first-year guys. And nobody's talking about that. They just all automatically think, yeah, it's a first-year guy at this SEC school. He's automatically going to be the greatest thing of all time. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. Texas A&M up next. UTSA, Roadrunners, win. Utah State, don't know what their mascot is, win. At Notre Dame, that's a loss. Off week, you beat Auburn. I believe you beat Auburn. Yes, you do. Mississippi State, that will be a win. Against Florida, that's a loss. Against Florida, that is a loss. At Arkansas, we're going to give you a win there. At LSU, that will be a loss. At Missouri, that's a loss. That's a win. South Carolina, win. Samford, win. and Texas win. So kind of like last year, they start off maybe a little rocky. You lose to Notre Dame. What's going on? Middle of the season, we hit a couple tough stretches with Florida, LSU, but then you finish the year 4-0 against Missouri, South Carolina, Samford, and Texas. That should be red. Boop. So what is that going to be for Texas A&M? That's going to be a 9-3 season for Texas A&M. They're over under 7.5. We're a little off there, but I like that. I like that from Texas A&M. I like that from Texas. There's going to be a lot of high win teams. I think these SEC teams are just going to beat up on each other. I still like them to win a lot of games, all of them, because I think it's wide open. But they're just beating up on each other. Vanderbilt, I'm sorry for you guys. Look away at this schedule. It's a win against CSU, lose to Virginia Tech, you lose to South Carolina, you beat Georgia State, you beat Utah State, you lose to Alabama, and it will be losses from here on out, unless I'm mistaken, which I don't think I am. Loss against Texas, loss against Auburn, lose to Kentucky, and you will lose to Tennessee. So it's going to be a 3-9 season for Vanderbilt. Poor guys. Diego Pavia thought he was going to win a national championship. I think not. They're not good enough to win a national championship at Vanderbilt. I love their head coach. I honestly love Diego Pavia, but they're not winning a national championship. Let's be realistic. I'm not sure why that looks like hieroglyphics, but it does for now. If my math is correct, we have Georgia in the SEC championship game. Georgia at 11-1 versus the LSU Tigers at 10-2. That will be your SEC championship game. With these records, I believe Oklahoma would be in the playoff. And Alabama or Texas are fighting for a playoff spot at those 9-3 records. We would see, but I think the SEC definitely gets 3 in with Georgia, LSU, and Oklahoma at these records here. So that's it. I know, scream at me in the comments where I went wrong, what I did wrong. It's a lot of green. I like a lot of these SEC teams. I think 5 or 6, maybe 7 teams could win the conference this year. That's how wide open it is. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe down below. I love you guys. Bye.
Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. 45, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis.